Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are tuning in from around the globe, I need you to press pause on whatever you're doing for just the next few minutes. Because what I'm about to walk you through has the real potential to transform the way you walk, the way you feel in your own body, and the very quality of your daily life from this point forward. Here's a truth that most physicians will never whisper in the privacy of their exam rooms. Your legs aren't simply deteriorating because the calendar keeps turning. They're weakening because no one ever taught you how to properly nourish them, and there is a world of difference between those two realities. One is a grim prognosis, the other is a practical, actionable plan. I'm Dr. Alan Mandell, and in today's session, I'm handing you that plan. 6 carefully selected foods, ranked from highly beneficial to truly life altering, that can help you rebuild lost leg strength, restore damaged muscle fibers, and reclaim the steadiness and self assurance you may have thought had slipped away forever. Now, before I dive into the details, let me share a statistic that truly stopped me in my tracks when I first came across it. A groundbreaking study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society revealed that adults aged 65 and older who exhibited significant weakness in their lower body muscles faced a 72% higher risk of developing mobility disabilities within just 5 years, along with a deeply concerning spike in fall-related hospital visits, nursing home placements, and even earlier mortality. Let that sink in. 72%. That's not a marginal figure. That's nearly 3 out of every 4 people who could have taken action sooner but didn't, simply because they lacked the knowledge we now possess about nutrition, muscle biology, and the aging process. And I can tell you right now, the number one food on this list is probably sitting in your kitchen as we speak. It might even be something you've been advised to steer clear of, and yet, researchers at Harvard Medical School now consider it one of the most potent muscle protective substances available to anyone over 60. I'm holding that one for the grand finale, because once you understand its power, your grocery shopping will never be the same. But before we jump into the countdown, I'd like to ask you something personal. Go ahead and drop a comment below, letting me know how old you are and whether you've noticed your legs feeling heavier, weaker, or less steady than they used to. Maybe climbing stairs has become a chore. Perhaps you've had a close call with a fall, or simply standing up from your favorite armchair now demands more effort than it once did. I personally read every single comment that comes through on this channel, every one of them. And your story could be exactly what inspires someone else watching to make a life-changing decision. So please, take half a minute and share with me. Now, let's get started. We're counting down from 6 to 1, moving from powerful to absolutely transformative. Coming in at number 6, and this one always raises eyebrows when I mention it, eggs. Yes, I know. You've been caught in the egg debate your entire life. They raise cholesterol. They're bad for your heart. Put them down and back away slowly. But I'm here to tell you, with the full weight of contemporary nutritional science behind me, that this advice, especially for those of us over 60, ranks among the most misguided and damaging health recommendations ever widely promoted. So, what do eggs actually do for your aging legs? They are one of the richest sources of leucine found anywhere in nature. Now, leucine is an amino acid, and if that term feels foreign, think of it as the ignition key that fires up muscle protein synthesis, the biological machinery your body uses to construct and repair muscle tissue. After age 65, your system develops what scientists call anabolic resistance. In plain terms, your muscles get stubborn. They don't respond as readily to protein signals. They need a louder call to get the same reaction. Leucine provides that call, and 2 large whole eggs deliver roughly 1.6 grams of it, an amount that research from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign found sufficient to trigger meaningful muscle protein synthesis even in older adults with advanced anabolic resistance. But there's more to eggs than leucine. The yolk, that part everyone told you to discard, contains choline, vitamin D, and a remarkable compound called phosphatidylcholine, which helps preserve the structural integrity of your muscle cell membranes. As we age, those membranes grow more fragile, less capable of holding on to the nutrients muscles need to contract and recover. The yolk essentially acts as a protective shield for your muscle cells. Throwing it away is like buying a brand new car and leaving the engine at the dealership. I recall a patient of mine, Margaret, 74 years old from Sarasota, Florida, who came to see me after her second fall in 6 months. She was terrified of her own staircase. She'd been following a low-fat diet for over a decade, avoiding eggs completely on the advice of an older physician. We added 3 whole eggs to her morning routine every day. Within 8 weeks, she told me she climbed her stairs without gripping the railing for the first time in 2 years. That's not coincidence. That's leucine, choline, and vitamin D doing exactly what the science predicts they should. For optimal results, aim for 2 to 3 whole eggs in the morning, ideally accompanied by a small amount of healthy fat like olive oil or avocado, which we'll get to shortly. The fat enhances absorption of the yolk's fat-soluble vitamins, and please don't scramble them in a dry pan. Gentle heat and light cooking preserve the protein's integrity. Moving on to number 5 on our list, wild-caught salmon. If your legs feel heavy, if they cramp up at night, or if they ache when you first wake up, there's a strong likelihood that chronic inflammation is quietly eroding your muscle tissue while you sleep. And wild-caught salmon is one of nature's most formidable anti-inflammatory tools ever discovered. The active players here are EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acids. And before your eyes glaze over at those letters, let me translate what they actually do inside an aging body. Think of inflammation in your muscle tissue like a slow-burning forest fire. It starts small, smolders at a low level constantly, and over years and decades, it shares everything around it: the muscle fibers, the connective tissue, the nerve pathways that carry signals from your brain to your legs, telling them to move. EPA and DHA act like water-bombing aircraft. They don't just soothe the flames, they chemically neutralize the inflammatory compounds, specifically a family called prostaglandins and cytokines, that your body produces in greater quantities after age 60. A study from the University of Aberdeen in Scotland followed 87 adults over 65 for 18 weeks. The group that consumed omega-3s, equivalent to about 3 servings of wild salmon per week, experienced a 22% increase in muscle protein synthesis compared to the control group. 22%, and that's from food, not a pill. But salmon offers another gift for aging legs that almost no one mentions. It's one of the very few dietary sources of vitamin D3, the active form of vitamin D that your skin can no longer manufacture efficiently after age 70. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology found that vitamin D deficiency, which affects an estimated 77% of adults over 65, is directly linked to muscle weakness, poor balance, and a higher risk of sarcopenia, the medical term for age-related muscle loss. One 6-ounce serving of wild-caught sockeye salmon delivers up to 988 international units of vitamin D3. The recommended daily minimum for adults over 70 is 800 IU. You get that in a single meal. Aim for salmon 2 to 3 times weekly. Wild caught is non-negotiable. Farm-raised salmon has a vastly different omega-3 to omega-6 ratio and won't provide the same anti-inflammatory benefit. Pair it with a handful of dark leafy greens to maximize vitamin K2 synergy, which we'll touch on with our next entry. Number 4 on the countdown, and this one carries an almost legendary reputation among longevity researchers: spinach and dark leafy greens. Think about every older person you've ever seen who rose from a chair without pushing off the armrests, who walked with a smooth, steady gait. I'd wager heavily that dark leafy greens were a staple in their diet. Here's the biology behind it. After age 75, your body loses roughly 35% of its ability to recycle nitric oxide, a molecule that acts like a traffic controller for blood flow in your legs. When nitric oxide levels drop, your microcirculation, the tiny blood vessels nourishing your quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves, begins to clog, Nutrients can't get in. Waste products can't get out. The result is muscles that tire faster, recover slower, and shrink year after year. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, and arugula are packed with dietary nitrates, which your body converts back into nitric oxide through a process involving bacteria in your saliva. You're essentially using food to bypass what aging has stolen. A remarkable study from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden found that inorganic nitrate supplementation, at doses equivalent to about 200 grams of spinach, improved skeletal muscle efficiency in older adults by 19%. The muscle didn't grow bigger, it simply became more efficient at using the oxygen and nutrients already arriving. Think of it like upgrading the fuel injection system in an old engine. The engine stays the same, but it runs smoother, cleaner, and longer. Spinach is also exceptionally rich in magnesium, a mineral that 68% of Americans over 60 are chronically deficient in. Magnesium is required for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, and among the most critical is muscle relaxation. When your legs cramp at night, when your calves seize up, when your feet curl involuntarily, that's almost always a magnesium signal. 1 cup of cooked spinach delivers 157 milligrams of magnesium, roughly 37% of your daily requirement in a single serving. I treated a patient named Robert, 71, a retired postal worker from Cincinnati, who described his legs as feeling like they were filled with concrete every morning. He'd been taking magnesium supplements for years with limited success. We shifted his approach to 2 cups of sautéed spinach daily with olive oil and garlic. 6 weeks later, he told me the concrete feeling was gone. He was walking his old mail route again, just for exercise, for the sheer enjoyment of it. The olive oil, by the way, dramatically boosts absorption of the fat-soluble compounds in spinach. Always cook your greens in a quality fat. Right here, right between item 4 and item 3, I want to pause and ask you something. If this information has already opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, please hit that like button right now. It tells YouTube to share this video with more seniors who need exactly this knowledge, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Every week I bring you clinically grounded, practical health guidance designed specifically for adults who want to live stronger, longer, and on their own terms. The subscribe button is right there. It takes 1 second, and it might be one of the best health decisions you make today. Now, number 3, and we are in elite territory now, Greek yogurt. Most people think of yogurt as a light snack, something you eat when you're trying to be virtuous. What most don't realize is that full-fat Greek yogurt is one of the most anabolically powerful foods available to the aging human body, and it is drastically underutilized as a muscle-building tool for seniors. Here's why it earns its place on this list. A single cup of plain, full-fat Greek yogurt contains approximately 17 to 20 grams of high-quality protein, and critically, it features a specific amino acid profile including leucine again, along with isoleucine and valine. These 3 branched-chain amino acids are absorbed directly into muscle tissue with remarkable efficiency. Unlike plant proteins, which are often incomplete and require combining with other foods to be fully utilized, the protein in Greek yogurt is what scientists call highly bioavailable. It doesn't take the scenic route, it goes straight to where your muscles need it most. But here's the piece that truly elevates Greek yogurt beyond a simple protein source for older adults. It contains live probiotic cultures, specifically lactobacillus, which influence something researchers now call the gut-muscle axis. This is a relatively new field of study, and the findings are extraordinary. Research from the University of California, Davis found that healthy gut microbiome populations in older adults were directly correlated with greater lean muscle mass, better leg strength scores, and faster recovery from physical exertion. The gut, it turns out, isn't just digesting your food, it's regulating how much of that food your muscles can actually use. After age 65, the gut microbiome typically becomes less diverse, less robust, and less efficient at extracting nutrients. Probiotic-rich foods like Greek yogurt help restore that diversity. Think of it like restocking a library that has been slowly losing its books. The more complete the library, the better your body can find and use the information it needs. For maximum benefit, consume your Greek yogurt within 30 to 45 minutes of any physical activity. Even a short walk counts. That's your anabolic window, the period when your muscles are most receptive to protein signals. Add a tablespoon of ground flaxseed for additional omega 3s, or a drizzle of raw honey, which contains enzymes that can further improve probiotic survival in the digestive tract. Always choose plain, full-fat versions. The low-fat varieties typically replace the fat with added sugar, which fuels the very inflammation we're trying to combat. Now we've arrived at number 2, and I promised you early on that one of the top items would surprise you. This is the one. Beets. I can see some of you smiling, others skeptical, and I completely understand, because beets aren't the first thing that comes to mind when you think about building strong legs. But the research behind beets and physical performance in older adults is so compelling that major sports medicine institutions have now integrated beet-derived compounds into recovery protocols. This isn't folk medicine, this is frontier science applied to the aging body. The mechanism centers on those dietary nitrates I mentioned with spinach, but beets contain them in concentrations roughly 3 to 4 times higher per gram than any leafy green. One medium beet contains about 300 milligrams of dietary nitrates. When those nitrates reach the oxygen-depleted environment of working muscle tissue, they're converted into nitric oxide with extraordinary efficiency, and the result is something researchers call a vasodilatory cascade, a wave of blood vessel opening that floods your legs with oxygen and nutrients in a way that aging vascular tissue simply can't produce on its own. A study conducted at Wake Forest University found that older adults who consumed beet juice, the equivalent of 2 medium beets, before moderate exercise showed a 38% increase in blood flow to the white matter regions of the brain associated with motor control. Let me say that differently. Beets didn't just improve what was happening in their legs, they improved the brain's ability to control their legs. For seniors worried about falls, coordination, or the nerve-to-muscle communication that erodes with age, this is enormous. Beets are also rich in betaine, a compound that reduces homocysteine levels in the blood. Elevated homocysteine, which affects approximately 47% of adults over 60, is linked to accelerated muscle loss, vascular damage, and impaired mitochondrial function. The mitochondria are your muscle cells' power generators. When they're damaged, your muscles run like a car with a failing battery. Betaine helps keep the chemistry clean to protect those generators. My patient Elena, 68 from Portland, Oregon, came to me after 3 different physicians told her that her leg weakness and chronic fatigue were simply part of aging. She was 68 and walking with a cane. We added 2 roasted beets to her lunch 4 days a week, along with a short daily walk. Within 12 weeks, she returned to my office without the cane. She was gardening again. She cried when she told me, and I didn't mind admitting that I found that moment deeply moving as well. Roast your beets at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 to 60 minutes to concentrate the nitrates without destroying them. You can also blend raw beets into a smoothie with a small amount of citrus juice. The vitamin C in citrus dramatically increases nitrate conversion efficiency. Don't boil beets for long periods, as water-soluble nitrates will leach out. Pair beets with any source of lean protein, and you have one of the most powerful pre-activity meals available to the aging body. And now, number 1, the food I mentioned at the very start of this video. The food that researchers at Harvard Medical School have flagged as one of the most potent muscle protective compounds available to humans over 60. The food that has been unfairly vilified, avoided, and eliminated from the diets of millions of seniors based on outdated science. Number 1, extra virgin olive oil. I know some of you expected a protein powder, a superfood, something exotic, and I want you to stay with me, because what I'm about to explain about extra virgin olive oil and the aging muscular system will fundamentally reshape how you think about fat, inflammation, and the very architecture of a strong body. Let's start with what makes extra virgin olive oil categorically different from every other dietary fat on the planet. It contains a compound called oleocanthal. Oleocanthal is a natural polyphenol, a plant compound that functions in your body almost identically to ibuprofen. Identical mechanism, it inhibits the same inflammatory enzymes, COX1 and COX2, that prescription anti-inflammatory drugs target. The difference is that oleocanthal does this without the gastric bleeding, kidney strain, and cardiovascular risks associated with long-term NSAID use. And for seniors who are disproportionately medicated with anti-inflammatories for joint and muscle pain, this is a critical distinction. But the muscle-specific benefits go far beyond anti-inflammation. A landmark study from the University of Athens, published in Clinical Nutrition, followed 840 adults over 65 for 3 years. Those who consumed a minimum of 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil daily showed a 37% lower incidence of sarcopenia compared to those who rarely consumed it. Sarcopenia, again, that's the technical term for the progressive, involuntary loss of muscle mass and strength that begins around age 40 and accelerates dramatically after 60. 37% lower from olive oil. Here's the biological mechanism, and this is the part Harvard researchers find most compelling. The polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil, over 30 distinct ones, appear to directly stimulate something called the mTOR pathway signaling in muscle cells. The mTOR pathway is the master switch for muscle protein synthesis, the same pathway that leucine activates, that resistance exercise activates, that anabolic hormones activate. Olive oil polyphenols turn on that switch independently. They don't require exercise. They don't require elevated hormones. They work in the cell regardless of what else is happening around it. After age 70, your body loses about 40% of its mTOR sensitivity. Your muscles become harder to build, not just from less protein or less exercise, but because the biological machinery that builds them is running at reduced capacity. Extra virgin olive oil is one of the very few dietary compounds that appears capable of partially restoring that sensitivity. Think of it like recalibrating a thermostat that's been set too low for too long. And then there's the mitochondrial dimension. Research from the University of Jaén in Spain found that hydroxytyrosol, another polyphenol abundant in extra virgin olive oil, protects mitochondrial DNA in muscle cells from oxidative damage. As we age, our mitochondrial DNA accumulates errors, like a manuscript photocopied too many times. The copies get fuzzier, the instructions become corrupted. The result is muscle cells that produce less energy, recover more slowly, and eventually stop working altogether. Hydroxytyrosol appears to slow that process of mitochondrial degradation by neutralizing the reactive oxygen species that cause the damage in the first place. I want to tell you about Thomas, 81 years old, a retired Navy commander from Norfolk, Virginia. When he came to see me, he hadn't been able to walk more than 2 blocks without stopping to rest. His legs, he said, simply refused to cooperate. His diet was clean, or so he thought, very low fat, very lean. He'd been avoiding fat for 30 years based on the guidelines of his era. We introduced 4 tablespoons of high-quality extra virgin olive oil into his daily routine, 2 in the morning over eggs, 2 at lunch over vegetables. We made no other changes for the first month. At his 6-week follow-up, he walked 4 blocks without stopping. At 12 weeks, he was back on his bicycle. At 6 months, he completed a 2-mile walk for a veterans charity. He sent me the photograph from the finish line. I have it on my office wall. For practical use, 4 tablespoons daily is the evidence-based target. Use it as your primary cooking fat for low to medium heat. Drizzle it generously over vegetables, eggs, fish, and legumes. For maximum absorption of its fat-soluble polyphenols, pair it with foods that contain fat-soluble vitamins, eggs, salmon, spinach, all of which, as you now know, are already on this list. That synergy isn't accidental. These six foods work together as a system, and when you combine them consistently, the cumulative effect on your leg strength, inflammation levels, mitochondrial health, and mobility is dramatically greater than any single food can achieve alone. Buy extra virgin olive oil in dark glass bottles from reputable producers, and look for a harvest date, not just an expiration date, on the label. Polyphenol content degrades with time and light exposure. Fresh olive oil is medicine. Old, clear bottled, bargain shelf olive oil is just fat. Now, let me bring this home for you because I want to make sure you leave here today not just informed, but genuinely moved to act. You were not built to become a passenger in your own life. You were not meant to watch from the window while your grandchildren play in the yard. You were not designed to hold the railing going downstairs, to skip the family hike, to decline the dance at the wedding reception because you're afraid your legs won't hold you. That is not the destiny written into your biology. That is a consequence of information that was never given to you. And today we gave it to you. It is never too late. I say this not as encouragement, but as a clinical fact. Muscle tissue in the human body retains its capacity for growth and repair well into the ninth decade of life. The research is unambiguous. The body wants to rebuild. It is waiting for the raw materials to do so. Your job, starting today, starting with your next meal, is to give it those materials: eggs, wild salmon, a bowl of spinach, a cup of Greek yogurt, 2 roasted beets, 4 tablespoons of the finest olive oil you can find. These are not extraordinary things. They're available in virtually every grocery store in the world, and they have the power to give you back something that most people in your position have resigned themselves to losing forever: the freedom to move through your own life on your own terms, with strength, with confidence, and with joy. The scientific references for every study mentioned in this video are listed in the description below. I encourage you to read them, share them with your doctor, and use them to advocate for yourself. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, I want you to do that right now. Every week, we bring you evidence-based, senior-focused health content that your doctor may not have time to share in a 15-minute appointment. This community is growing because people like you are sharing it with the people they love, and that matters more than I can express. And now, I want to hear from you. Leave me a comment below. Tell me which of these six foods you're going to add to your diet first. Tell me how your legs have been feeling. Tell me your story, because this channel exists for you, not in the abstract, but for you specifically, with your name and your history and your particular version of this journey. I read every comment. I mean that sincerely. Until next time, eat well, move daily, and never stop believing that your best years are not behind you. They are waiting for you to claim them.